Hello, and welcome to the MMA Mic Drop Podcast. My name is Jade Bunkie. In today's episode, I'm going to break down everything that's about to go down at UFC 325. Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopes. The main event features one of the greatest fighters to ever do it in Alexander the Great Volkanovski. But the overall fight card is a bit of a disappointment. It's a disappointment because it represents a missed opportunity of epic proportions. UFC 324 just wrapped up and it was wildly successful. It featured 5.93 million concurrent streams. It even reached 7 million households. It was an incredible success on every available metric. And to have it followed 1 week later by UFC 325 is actually strategically smart. The problem is with the execution. Diego Lopes should not be fighting for the title. It should be the #1 ranked undefeated fighter, Movsar Evloev. And if it's not Movsar Evloev, it should be against the #4 undefeated Lerone Murphy. The reason why this is problematic is that Diego Lopes and Alexander Volkanovski just fought less than a year ago. Volkanovski won. It was non-controversial. I have no idea why this is the main event. So it makes the main event a bit lackluster. It makes it lackluster from the perspective of we just saw that we know who the better fighter is. Now, this fight can still deliver on the action, but it takes a lot away from the main event. There are other issues with this fight card. The co-main event features a 35-year-old fighter who is coming off a loss. It features another fighter who has lost 5 in a row. It features an opener that includes Jamie Mullarkey, and yes, a very good prospect, but a prospect nonetheless. So let me tell you what the UFC should have done. You just add 2 fighters to this fight card, and you change it to what I would grade it as a C- to possibly an A-. We all know that this should be a matchup between Alexander Volkanovski versus Movsar Evloev. Now, if you do that, that frees up Diego Lopes. I like the idea of Diego Lopes on this card, just not in the main event. What you do is you put him in the co-main event against Lerone Murphy as a title eliminator. Now you're starting to build a card that is very interesting. Now your featured bout is still Rafael Fiziev versus Maurício Ruffy, which is the best fight on the card. And then what you do is you open against Benoît Denis versus Dan Hooker. And that fight will absolutely deliver action. And if you have a stacked main event like that, it allows you to put a prospect in the mix, in the second fight. It also allows you to have Tuivasa. And despite having lost 5 in a row, I do understand his placement on a main card in Australia. He's a fan favorite. He's absolutely hilarious. And if he wins, he's going to do a shoey. And that is good entertainment. But to do that, to be able to get away with that, you need to stack the rest of the card. And why is this such a missed opportunity? It is a missed opportunity because, one, this card could have been so much better with only a couple of tweaks. And number 2, it's coming off the heels of such a successful UFC debut. So when you have a lot of those casual fans, you want the next event to carry that momentum. With that said, I'm still going to break down every single fight. I'm going to give you the picks and predictions, and let's get started. Okay, the main event as it is Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopes. We saw this, again, less than a year ago. Alexander Volkanovski won that fight pretty convincingly. It wasn't dominant, but it was very convincingly. And when we look at Alexander Volkanovski, he is, like I said, he is one of the greatest fighters to ever do it. He is 27-4. And I want to talk about his 4 losses. His first loss was back in 2013. His only losses since then are 2 to Islam Makhachev, who is the welterweight champion at 170. And just a reminder, Alexander Volkanovski is fighting at 145. And in that first fight, I thought Alexander Volkanovski won that fight. No doubt about the second fight. But that first one was really was really close. And then he lost to Elliott, who I think is the greatest pound-for-pound fighter in the world. And a lot of people think that Islam Makhachev is the greatest pound-for-pound fighter in the world. But where there is no debate, those are the 2 pound for pound best fighters in the world. And of his 27 wins, he has 3 wins over Max Holloway. He has a win over Jose Aldo. He is truly one of the greatest fighters to ever do it. And what makes him so great? He is good everywhere. He is well-rounded. But what makes him great is his mind. He has one of the highest fight IQs that you will ever see. He is tactically brilliant in the cage. He is a good athlete. He is a good striker. He's a good wrestler. But it is his training and his strategy, and it is knowing what he is capable of doing. He always has the right strategy for the right opponent at the right time. Now, Diego Lopes, he's an exciting fighter. He's one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC, and it makes sense to feature him on this card, just not in the main event. And we know he can finish a fight from anywhere. He is a good grappler. He is a good wrestler. He has really good power. Of his 27 wins, he's 27-7. He has, I believe it's 23 finishes. So he's a finisher at a lower weight class. He is absolutely explosive. And in this fight, he can actually win. He can win because Volkanovski is 37 years old. And he's at that age where fighters start to fall off, and they start to fall off quickly. When I look at the odds, Alexander Volkanovski is a -130 favorite. Diego Lopes is a +110. This is a close fight. And despite the setup, I am actually going to go with the slight upset. I'm picking Diego Lopes. I think it's simply due to age. I think Volkanovski will have slowed down just a little bit in less than a year. That's going to allow Diego Lopes to claim the title for the first time and new. Diego Lopes by 3rd round TKO. Next up, we have Benoît Saint Denis versus Dan Hooker. Now, this is an interesting fight. Again, just should not be a co-main event. I think Benoît Saint Denis could be in a co-main event, and I think that makes a lot of sense. He is 16-3. He's on a 3-fight win streak. Out of his 16 wins, 16 have come by finish, so he has a 100% finish rate. This fight card, the odds, Benoît Saint Denis, he's a -250 favorite. Dan Hooker is a +205. Now, Benoît Saint Denis' last win was against Maurício Ruffy. I called that one perfectly. I said he is not going to let Ruffy play at range, and he's going to manhandle him. And I think I picked a 2nd round sub or 2nd round TKO, but I said he's going to get him to the ground, he's going to beat him up a little bit, and he's never going to let Ruffy style on him from distance. And that's exactly what happened. And I think Benoît Saint Denis is the real deal. I mean, he is a legit player at 155. I think, of his 3 losses, the first one, we know what happened there. It was short notice up a weight class. The next one was against Dustin Poirier. It looked like he had a staph infection. He was manhandling Dustin Poirier for the first part of the first round, and then he just completely gassed. Now, Moicano, that's a different thing. Moicano handed it to him, and, there's no caveats there. But I think Benoît Saint Denis is the real deal. And speaking of real deals, Dan Hooker is as well. He's never going to see a title, but he's one of the toughest guys to ever do it in the sport. You think about, him losing to Jalen Turner early on, where he breaks his arm, fractures his cheekbone, and he still toughs it out to eke out a win. He is one of the toughest guys. He has really good power, but I think this is a true changing of the guard, and I think it's gonna be entertaining. I think Dan Hooker's tough enough to stay in there for a while, but I think he's gonna get absolutely ragdolled. Give me Benoît Saint Denis by 2nd round TKO. Now, the best fight on the card, and this is a truly great fight. One of the best fight matchups that the UFC can make, and that's what even makes it more disappointing that the UFC didn't make a couple adjustments to have a better main and co-main event, because this featured bout is incredible. Rafael Fiziev versus Maurício Ruffy, and they're both at -110. It's a pick'em, and this fight features 2 of the best strikers in the UFC. I believe Ruffy is 13-1, and let me just bring up his record really quickly. Give me 1 second here. I'm sorry, Ruffy is 12-2. Rafael Fiziev is 13-4. Ruffy, he likes to dance around on the outside. He's very precise. Both guys are very precise, but he's a little more methodical in his approach. He likes to play around at range, and he's waiting for that perfect shot. And sometimes it does take him a little while to get going. Sometimes he could be a little slow in terms of output, but that's not always the case. Because he tends to land that perfect shot pretty early on. We also see what happens when he starts to get his rhythm and he starts to get somebody on the back foot. And he has taken on another elite level striker. And I would say, I think Fiziev might even be a bit of a better striker. I know that's might be a little shocking, but I think he's going to throw a little higher volume. He's very precise in where he places his shots. The difference is he's not teeing up a guy for the knockout. That's the difference. Ruffy is going to have more power. He's going to be rangier. Watch for Fiziev to come in and out. And Fiziev has had the tougher fights. And when you think about his 3 losses in the UFC, 2 were against Justin Gaethje, 1 was short notice, the other one was Mateusz Gamrot, and it was due to injury. So he only has 1 legitimate loss in the UFC if you really think about it. He is an elite level striker. I think he's a legitimate top 5 talent. In the lightweight division, probably right at number 5. But I'm still not sure if Ruffy is. I think Ruffy might be, he's probably like the 7th or 8th best guy in the division. And, it could end either way. Ruffy can put him out by connecting on the right with 1 shot. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be Fiziev. Now, one thing to keep in mind, Fiziev does gas. And if it's 1-1 going into 3rd, I would actually change my pick, and I would say it would be Ruffy. But I am going to take Fiziev by decision in the fight of the night. And speaking of entertaining fights, yes, Tuivasa. He is 0-5 in his last fight, in his last 5 fights. He's had some issues. He's been away from the fight game for a while, which does not portend well. He has taken on an absolute massive man in Tallison Teixeira. Teixeira is 6'8", 260 pounds. Now, Tuivasa is big as well. I mean, he's going to have to cut weight to come down to 260, I don't know exactly how tall he is, probably around 6 feet or something, but he has incredible power. He has no grappling. We saw what his power did against Ciryl Gane. He hurt Ciryl Gane. And it's interesting, in that fight, I thought he got some of the worst advice ever. His coach was telling him, his corner was telling him, be patient. No, don't be patient against somebody who is technically so much better than you. You got to bully that guy. And I thought that, and then we saw, and I actually, in that moment, I said, he's going to get picked apart if he does that. He started to become patient, and he got picked apart. But what I'm trying to say is he has 1-punch knockout power. He can put anybody down. He can put Teixeira down. But it's the age discrepancy that, Tallison Teixeira is huge. He's in shape. He's young. He's in his mid-20s. Absolute massive dude. I can see this fight going either way because both guys can finish the fight so quickly. Now, Teixeira is not that proven. He's coming off a loss against Derek Lewis, but hey, Derek Lewis, that's what he does. No matter how old he is, he can always put you out with 1 punch. That's what he did. So we just don't really have a good read on it. And Teixeira is a -300. Tuivasa a plus 250. I still think this line, even though it's a bit wide, I still think it's appropriate because we don't know what we're getting in Tuivasa. But I can tell you, the person for whom I'm rooting, it's Tai, because I want to see him do a shoey. I want to see that crowd go absolutely crazy in Australia. It will be so much fun. And opening the main card. Now, this is the problem. I think you could pick one of these 2 matchups to be on the main card, but not both. If you go with Teixeira versus Tuivasa, cool. The rest of the card needs to be stacked. If you go with Quillan, Salkilld versus Jamie Mullarkey, it's a little rough to have Jamie Mullarkey on a main card. I know he's a replacement fighter, but you can make an argument for that because Salkilld is, I think, a really legit prospect. He looks good. He is a -700 favorite. Jamie Mullarkey, he is a plus 525 underdog. when you look at Quillan, I mean, he's a good all-around fighter. I mean, he's a clean striker. He's got good grappling. He's 3-0 in the UFC. He looks like a legitimate prospect, and I think he's only, let me see, I think he's only 26 years old. Yeah, he's 26 years old, and he's pretty tall. He's pretty rangy, and he's coming off that spectacular, kick to the head finish that was absolutely insane. And when you look at Jamie Mullarkey, he is a below-average UFC fighter. Now, he's not bad. Well, he's not. Let me rephrase this. He has some wins in the UFC, and the way he was able to get his wins, as our friend Keith Schilling at Sherdog mentioned, is he was able to tough it out. He had a good chin. He was able to, weather the storm and just be relentless. He was able to show some grit, and he was able to pull out some wins. But that chin is gone, and he is going to get absolutely worked. And watch Salkilld blow the roof off this place. This place is going to be going nuts. And I think if you're betting in FanDuel, this might be a good one on which to bet, because I think Quillan is going to be very aggressive, and I think he's going to get him out of there early. He might even get him out of there in the first 60 seconds, where you get a bonus on like DraftKings. And if it goes longer, that just means he's taken a beating. But I think he's not going to show Mullarkey much respect, and I think it is going to be an absolutely epic beatdown. Now, before that, we are going to get Junior Tafa versus Billy Elekana. And this is one of the other issues with this fight card. The prelims are pretty weak. I do not think Junior Tafa is UFC level. Now, what he does have, he has crazy power. He hits you once, he puts you out. He can put anybody out. But I think he's like 2-4 in the UFC. I don't even want to click because I don't think it's that interesting. He has a kickboxing background, but some of his punches are a little looping despite his background. I mean, yes, he's a cleaner striker than his brother, but the problem is he has no grappling whatsoever. If he gets put on his back, he is going to lose. He has no chance of getting up. Now, Billy Elekana, he's a little more well-rounded. I think I will click on him because I think he is 2-1 in the UFC. He's 2-1 in the UFC. I mean, it's not against good competition yet, but I think he's got to avoid the power shot. I think this is an easy matchup for him, and give me Billy by first round TKO. And let me just get the odds real quickly here. Okay, Billy Elekana, he is a -175. Junior Tafa, he is a +150. And before that, we're going to get Jonathan Micallef versus Oban Elliott. Now, this is actually a pretty good fight. Now, this should be, I would put this as more of the featured prelim. I think it's a solid fight. I think it'll go back and forth. I think both guys are pretty well-rounded. Both guys are pretty solid. Both guys show, that they belong in the UFC. I think Oban Elliott is going to have a speed advantage. Give me Elliott by third round TKO. And even though this isn't the best fight card, I think there's going to be some excitement, and I think there will be some fun fights. Before that, we got Cameron Rowston versus Cody Brundage. Again, this is not a good matchup. It is appropriate for the prelims, but this is not a good fight. I mean, it's Cody Brundage versus Cameron Rowston. Cody Brundage, I mean, he does not belong in the UFC. I mean, he has losses to Cedric Dumas, William Knight. I believe he's something like 4-6 in the UFC. I'm not exactly sure. Rowston, he has the most interesting nickname, Battle Giraffe. I have no idea what that means. But he is 1-0 in the UFC. The problem is he had a loss against Torrez Finney on the Contender Series. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But let me just click over here. Let me get the odds real quickly for you. Let's see. Cameron is a -300 favorite. That is appropriate. Brundage is a +250. Brundage, I mean, one of his wins that he has, I believe it's against Malkoun, but it was a fight he won by disqualification, and he was getting absolutely destroyed. And speaking of getting destroyed, I think that's what's going to happen here. I think Cody Brundage, he makes too many mental mistakes as well. He's not a great athlete. He's not necessarily good anywhere. I mean, he's not bad anywhere, but he makes big mistakes. I remember fighting Rodolfo Vieira, one of the greatest grapplers in human history, and he decided to jump guillotine and then was quickly subbed right after that. Yeah, give me Cameron by second round TKO. All right, before that, we are going to get Jacob Malkoun versus Torrez Finney. Now, Finney, if you have not seen Finney, he has one of the craziest physiques you will ever see. He is about 5'8". He fights at 185, and he is absolutely ripped. He is an absolute powerhouse. He has a wrestling background. He is 11-0, but he is not a good mixed martial artist, and that is the problem. In his debut, I think it was against Robert Valentin, and he just held him against the fence. He is strong, and he can wrestle, but he's not a good striker. Now, what's interesting is he's only 26 years old, so a 26-year-old can make big improvements. He hasn't been fighting that long, so maybe he's made big improvements, but that line, the line's not as wide as I think it should be. Malkoun is a minus 250, Torrez Finney plus 210. Malkoun, he's actually better than you think. He is a well-rounded fighter. I think he is 8-3. Let me just click on that to get his record. I think Malkoun is a little bit underrated. Like I said, one of the losses was to Cody Brundage, in which he was beating the brakes off of him, but it was a disqualification. Yeah, he's 8-3, and I think he's going to get it done. I think Finney can tie him up for quite some time. So I think this will probably not be an exciting fight. I would wait till the third round. I think Torrez Finney might gas a bit, and I think if this takes place at any bit of range, if Finney is having trouble closing the range, if his takedown attempts start getting slower and slower, Malkoun's going to start picking him apart, and Malkoun's good on the ground too. So, you don't want to be under Torrez Finney. The dude's absolutely massive. And, if he gets top position, that will be a problem. But give me Malkoun by third round TKO. Before that, we are going to get Khan Ofli versus Za Yi. Ofli, he is 12-4. Yi is 26-5. I think this is another interesting matchup. I think it's, or I shouldn't say another one. I've been bagging on most of these matchups. So, let's see. Yi is a minus 185 favorite. Ofli plus 160. I'm taking Ofli in the upset. Now, the remaining fights are all road to the UFC. I do not watch the road of the UFC. I know a little bit about each of the fighters. Do not bet on anything I'm going to say here, because I'm just going to let you know who's matched up. I'm going to let you know what the odds are. I do know there's somebody with a crazy cool nickname, and I think it's, let me see. We have one dude with the nickname Frogman, and we have his opponent is Street Buddha. Both are sick nicknames. All right, so I'm just going to read off the odds. I'm not going to give any picks. I know just a little bit about these guys, but not really that much. So we have Dom Marfan minus 205 versus Kim Sang-uk plus 175. Sebastian Zele at minus 200. Nakamura at plus 170. Lawrence Louis versus Rainbow Sulang. Louis is minus 190. Sulang is plus 165. And then Batbayar minus 205 versus Aaron Tao plus 175. Now, Aaron Tao does have probably the sickest tattoo in the UFC. None of these fighters are actually in the UFC yet. They're fighting for a contract, but he has the full, he's a New Zealander, and he has Maori blood in him, and he has that cool face Maori tattoo, which looks pretty sick. But that's it. That's all I have. Like, subscribe. Thank you so much, and see you next time.